going on, everybody? Welcome and welcome back to the channel. This is the Fourth Wall Podcast, the show where I stretch my unsolicited opinion across all things reality television. I am your host, Oakland Jonas Galloway, and with that being said, let's get into chaos and charcuterie. So, on our plate today for Chaos and Charcuterie, I want to talk about Kandi Burruss and how she's close to finalizing her divorce, but she's got a couple things that she needs to clean up before the ink can dry, right? Allegedly, she has to pay over $100,000 to the landlord of Blaze Steakhouse before she can wrap up everything and really finalize this divorce and finally cut ties with Todd, right? While I'm happy that her divorce hasn't stretched out as long as most people we see in this situation, it does suck that the business venture that Todd really wanted to spearhead, which is these restaurants, is the thing that's holding up their separation and the finalizing of their divorce, right? It really made me wonder how much business they had tied up in their divorce that they needed to settle. And was this the final piece? Is this just a piece that's keeping them from getting divorced? Was everything else surrounding their separation kind of worked out, being, the properties, being the liquid assets, things like that, child care, child custody, all of that? Was all of that figured out in just these little business things, the thing that's holding it up, specifically this $100,000 or more? Um, it really makes me wonder because they seem to have had a lot of businesses together. These three restaurants being one, I count these three restaurants as one, even though they are three separate entities, right? But were the films that they made together under the same production company? Like The Pass and Don't Bring Your Man to Atlanta, were all of those films created under a production company that they had together? Was all of that under T. Tucker Productions? Was that under Candy Coated Entertainment? Was it a collaboration between the two companies and they, just split all the proceeds down the middle? How did that work when it comes to that side of their business? What else did Todd have a hand in when it comes to Candy's business that she had established before they had ever gotten married? That leaves me with another question as well. It really just leaves me to wonder what all were the loose ends that needed to be tied up before this divorce is finally final. Because they say that it's close, they say that it's nearly final, but they have, this specifically. And it just makes me wonder, is there anything else that hasn't really come out that we don't know about? Because if we know anything else about Kandi Burruss, is that lady gonna start a business? Or two or three. So it makes me wonder, in this 11 years that she was married to Todd, how much of her business she roped in with Todd and how those business dealings were actually executed. Very interesting. Another question that I have is, what is going to be going on with the living situation now that this divorce is finally being settled? I imagine that Todd is going to be staying in Atlanta, being that the kids are very young, and I would believe that they're still in school, and he's not just going to pull them out of school to move them to another place. Speaking of, hold on. Do they still have that condo that they were arguing about a couple seasons ago that Todd had with an ex or something? And like what happened to that? What happened to that condo? I forgot about that, because that would have been the place that I would imagine that they would have considered home base while Candy is on Broadway. He could have just brought the kids up there and she could have came and visited them down there. The kids would have been close. They could have came up there, and whatever spot she had in the city, they could have done a shorter commute to do a child exchange. Do you get what I mean? So, with that being said, heading back to him staying in Atlanta, so the kids are in school, I would imagine that's where he's going to find a place at, right? Is he prolonging finding a place until the divorce is settled and he knows exactly what he's going to be getting from his divorce with Candy, so he knows exactly what type of place he can get now that he's divorced? Is that a thing? I know that a lot of people have taken this whole "it was a scheme that Todd set up to come to us with the bullshit" literally over the years, and that's just a thing that he's never been able to shake since. But The way that he's been moving throughout this divorce is very remnant of it was a scheme that Todd set up to come to Candy with the bullshit. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys thought about that. Let me know what you think about Candy, Todd. Do you think they still have this condo in New Jersey? What do you think is really keeping the ink from drying on their divorce papers? And how do you think they racked up this $100,000 or more in back rent to Blaze Steakhouse? Okay, so jumping into our Housewives Cinematic Universe coverage this week, I'm going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, being that there are only active franchise airing right now. So, when it comes to the water cooler moment, I want to talk about how I started seeing in this last episode the first fractures of Dorit and Erika's friendship. And how interesting it was to see because it sort of came out of nowhere for me. While we did have the hint of it happening in the trailer leading up to this, there weren't any real signs that I saw in the episodes preceding this that can really lead me to see this type of a snap happening so quickly, and Dorit drawing such a hard boundary with her so quickly when it came to them at that dinner and her saying she's pulling back and choosing who she's telling her business to, and Erika being the person that is obviously the person that she's not telling her business to. What's positive for me about this, and this may be an interesting choice of words, but seeing the last shreds of the Fox Force 5 falling apart is genuinely satisfying for me. Because the years that we had of that entire group being together with Kyle, Dorit, Erika, Renna, Teddy, it just really, that totalitarian way of operating throughout this show was miserable and it was arduous to get through. And so I'm happy that slowly but surely everybody in that group is starting to fall off and disseminate into their own parts of the world, whether it be on this show or not. But it does make me very curious to if we're going to see what the actual straw was that broke the camel carrying those two's friendship, right? I wonder if we're going to see what that actual situation was, because in this episode we kind of saw two situations for me. Was when Erika went to go get Dorit when she was being late as usual to coming out for the dinner, and Erika's reaction to Dorit being sort of snide and pompous about her being cavalier about wasting everyone's time and holding everyone up. Did anyone else clock that but me? It just felt like when Erika went to go get Dorit, she was very pompous and just flippant about everybody out there waiting on her. And by everybody, it wasn't just the girls, it was production waiting on her as well. And you sitting here fiddling, faddling with some rings and some bangles? So disrespectful. Now, in this dissension of Dorit and Erika's friendship, we kind of saw a hint of a Sutton and Erika duo that could possibly form when Sutton took the chance to point out that Erika was the one that Dorit was pulling back and not telling her business to, right? That moment when Sutton was like, not you, and Erika was like, right. Like, it was very interesting to see that sort of connection between the two of them specifically. Now, mind you, when I say that there's a possible duo that could happen between the two of them, I think that it's a duo that Sutton will specifically reach for, even though I hope that she doesn't, because she doesn't need to. I feel like Dorit is still holding on to a sliver of hope between her and Kyle's friendship, because she needs Kyle to stay on this show, and Dorit needs this show to maintain her lifestyle post-divorce from PK, right? And in saying that, Kyle also needs a sidekick, right? Kyle is finally in the position now that Lisa Vanderpump has left the show, Lisa Rinna has left the show, and anybody else with a bigger personality than her that can eclipse her is either not on the show or subservient to her and unwaveringly loyal to her. So she kind of has the control over the show that the people and Andy has kind of propped her up to have. And now she kind of has that queen bee spot. She needs a sidekick. And Erica can stand on her own, right? I think there's a certain level of respect that Kyle has for Erica because she's very independent and she doesn't need a clique or a friend to navigate this show, right? She genuinely loves that lady because they can come together and she can just let her hair down and truly be her friend and not feel the need to carry her or the friendship on or off the show. Getting into my biggest question for this week, I want to dive back into what I was getting into a little bit earlier when I said that Sutton could possibly go for a duo with Erica, but she didn't need to, and I hope she doesn't. I'm going to break that down right here because the question that I have for you guys is, does anyone else think that Sutton is plotting on Amanda because she needs a sidekick? If you looked at the last couple episodes, you've seen Sutton attempt to try to take Amanda under her wing and help her navigate this group, whether it be with a sense of tough love or backhanded support or not, right? The reason why I feel like Sutton is doing that is because Sutton does not have any strong allies on this show. Sutton can't survive on this show with just an ally, right? And when I say an ally, I mean someone who can be her friend and maneuver the group independently without her, a la a Garcelle, right? What Sutton needs is a sidekick specifically, and that is someone who can't maneuver through the group without her or her friendship or her loyalty or her backing them up. And the reason why I say that Amanda is the person that she's chosen is because Amanda has put herself in a place with the cast where nobody likes her or takes her seriously. So she sees Amanda basically fighting for her life and drowning. And she sees, oh, this is an opportunity for me to help you so that I can help myself, right? Because Sutton Strack is getting ready to get kicked off this show. But if I pull this girl up, I can make a whole new wave for Sutton Brown. The reason why Sutton can't maneuver through the group by herself is because she can't actively engage in any friendship on this show without putting her foot in her mouth at some point and making people look at her in a way that is not just a question of the things that she does, but a question of her character. For example, when Dorit's robbery happened and Sutton was more obsessed with her designer that was stuck in customs than Dorit having a gun pointed to her head. Wild. She either needs someone who is defending her, an ally, or someone who's going to back her up, a sidekick. But the only way that Sutton is going to thrive on this show is with a sidekick because she needs somebody who's going to prop her up because she's been so busy propping everybody else up on this show, a la Kyle, a la Garcelle. So I wonder if that is going to be the ticket that Amanda takes to save herself on this show, because if she was smart, she would latch on to it, even though she should take stock of the fact that that's not her real friend. I hope she's smart enough to realize that this is a chess move. And if she doesn't realize it in real time while she's filming, hopefully she watches it back and she catches it. Maybe she'll watch this and figure it out. If you do, Amanda, drop down in the comments and let me know. Maybe we can manifest a little money together, okay? When it comes to my suggestion box submission for this episode, I never thought that I would say this, but y'all need to bring back Renna. Y'all need Renna at this point, and it's for a very specific reason. Renna is going to be the only person who's going to clock the real reason that Kyle is going after Dorit so hard. Because Kyle going after Dorit, her being late, as usual, but her emphasizing it seemingly even more this season, her manic behavior, her highlighting her spending, and everything that she's been trying to put a spotlight on when it comes to Dorit this season is the exact same way that Rinna clocked how Kim was not sober and acting a damn fool on camera. And I think that Rinna would actually clock Kyle by accident. I think that she would do it and not even do it in a way where she's bringing it to light for Kyle to be accountable. I think she would accidentally clock Kyle by relating to her in this moment because she doesn't see anything wrong with this behavior. She would find kinship in this and she would be like, girl, I completely get it. And she would try to band behind that and she would say the quiet part out loud because that's Rinna, right? I believe that Erika is not going to say anything because she's actually friends with Kyle, right? She's actually real friends with Kyle, both on and off camera. And I believe that her falling out with Dorit just kind of happened to happen at the same time that all of this was going on with Kyle and Dorit. So it does lead me to question if there was any type of synergistic energy when it comes to the way that Erika approached Dorit this season and the way that Kyle was going after Dorit this season. It does leave me with that question now that I kind of put all of this into context because I kind of thought that those two things were mutually exclusive, but also existing in the same space. Like, they were happening at the same time, but they really didn't have anything to do with each other, right? I just kind of thought that those things may be separate, but now that I say it out loud, those things could actually be coordinated behind the scenes. I mean, they were in the Fox Force 5 together. And it goes back to that totalitarian behavior that I mentioned before. But I feel like if it's possible, y'all need to give Rinna Amanda's diamond. The reason being is because, yes, Amanda is one of the central figures of contention on this season, but the cast doesn't like her, and neither does the audience. So there's really nowhere for her to go on this show because no one on the cast is defending her except Sutton, but Sutton defending her is like Camille defending her from the bushes. No one really cares because no one really takes Sutton seriously on this show if you really want to talk about it. So her going to bat for Amanda is going to be like, girl, you barely go to bat for yourself. So how you going to try to crank it for somebody else? You know what I mean? So yeah, I do think she's going to be a one season wonder because I don't think that there's going to be anybody that's truly invested in having a real friendship with her outside of Sutton. And Sutton is hanging on by a thread with her own friendships in this group. So we'll see how that goes. I also want to drop an honorable mention for this episode, and I just want to say, can we get more opera on Housewives? Because I think it's hilarious that this episode of Housewives airs in conjunction with the likes of Timothée Chamlet going around saying everything that he said about opera and ballet that got him all of the backlash that he got recently, right? So I think that maybe if he watches more Housewives and he gets a touch of opera, instead, since he's not going out into the world, he's not outside down to the opera streets, he's not outside at the ballet streets. Maybe if he watches Housewives with Kylie at the house, maybe he can get into some opera and get some culture. Because what did Bo say?
If these women have any culture, they're going to appreciate it. And if they don't appreciate it, they ain't got no culture.
All right then. That's been my coverage of the Housewives cinematic universe this week. Let me know what you guys thought about everything that I had to say about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And let me know if you guys have any suggestions that you would want to put in the box. Next up, we're going to talk about my latest obsession. Stay tuned. So coming into our latest obsession this week, I want to talk about Baddies. And I know that this show has kind of been in the Old Faithful segment for the majority of the time that it's been on this show, but I had to move it up to my latest obsession because I'm personally obsessed with fixing this show. And Baddies this season, it's forced me to look at Baddies in a completely different way because this feels like a completely different show. Can we talk? So my water cooler moment this week for Baddies is Tavii having a full-blown breakdown in a parking lot. Tavii, let me just start with you take Baddies way too personally. Mama, I like you. I genuinely like you. But you take this show way too personally and you take it way too seriously. And I think that that's part of the reason why people liked you last season is because we see that you are a real ass bitch. And we see that you are somebody who has a lot of heart, and the New York in you and the up north in you really shows when it comes to the way that you handle people on this show. But you have not learned yet that there are no friends in Baddies. Natalie has said this before, and I'm going to tell y'all something. If Natalie has never told y'all the truth before, she told y'all the truth when she said that. She said there is no friends in Baddies, and that lady meant that. I feel like, Tavii, you should have known that you were an easy target this season because people looked at you as weak in a way, but mostly as an underdog because of how Lex beat your ass all last season and how you admitted to Lex beating your ass all last season. That to me was buck wild. But once again, that plays into that authenticity that you naturally bring to the show because you're just a real ass bitch who got an opportunity to be on TV. And that makes us root for you, but we also need to find a balance between you being a real ass bitch and you being a smart ass bitch if you're going to continue to do this show, because you were in this parking lot in the best outfit that I have ever seen you in on this show, in the best wig you have ever worn on this show, looking the best you have ever looked on this show, acting a manic fool. You doing all that carrying on in that parking lot did leave me with a question that I wanted to ask you. Personally, this ain't my biggest question, but it's just something that I wanted to get to real quick before we get to the biggest question, right? What did you mean when you said you and old girl was sleeping with each other and y'all pillow talk? What does that mean? Because anytime I hear somebody say that they sleeping with somebody and that they pillow talking, that's never meant or presented in a way that's platonic. You know what I mean? And then you kind of follow that up with she broke your heart. Like, what in the secret lovers is going on this show? I just like, girl, what is happening? Like, once again, you take Baddies too seriously. And if this is how you treat your friends in your real life, I wonder what your dynamics is with your real friends in your life, because you treat your homegirls like your girlfriends. And that might have something to do with why you were so triggered when Tommy said you give it up like DMX. Because she wasn't all the way wrong. No shade. Now, the biggest question that I have for this episode is, why did Lex not immediately go for Tommy behind Cold Killer? I don't understand that. Ma'am, you should have had the exact same energy for Tommy when she walked up in that whatever spot y'all was at that you had for Summer after she brought them girls to jump on you. I don't understand how you didn't have that energy, or worse. Because Summer only brought some girls to put hands on you. Tommy brought people to jump people, and she hit you with a glass to the face, my G. To me, you should have beat Cold Killer to Tommy. If anybody should have been swinging on Tommy, it should have been you. I don't understand how we are waiting till the next episode to see you have any dialogue with Tommy. I don't think you should have had a goddamn fucking word to say to that lady. I don't give a damn if you threw a glass directly at that lady's face. Get your lick back, sis. But you should have beelined for that bitch. I don't understand that. Now listen, Lex, I'm going to try to level with you because I heard that you don't like to fight in public. I heard this. I listened to the internet streets. But when were you going to get Tommy in this controlled of an environment outside of the reunion? Like, did you really want to wait to get your lick back that bad until you had a controlled environment that you were willing to wait all the way through seeing this lady all the way through the rest of the season and then wait until the show is edited, done, filmed, aired, and then get to the reunion? Like, how long of a game do you want to play? Like, how long of a con are you trying to run? Like, what's going on? You giving a little bit too much grace this season. I like, girl, I understand all the grace you had for Summer, but Tommy? So getting into my submission box suggestion for this episode, I think that next season should be all about clicks. Since y'all want to keep playing on this Bad Girls formula and keep running back the way the Bad Girls injected this toxic ass dynamic between women in a social experiment environment onto people, I think that y'all should go back and redo the sister season of Bad Girls Club, but y'all should do it with the trios that have formed on this show, right? I think y'all should have Tasiki, Anna, and Biggie. I think y'all should have K-Rican, Cold Killer, and Fauna. I think y'all should have Summer, Dolly, and Lex. And I think y'all should have Tinka, DTB, and Ivory. You got a full cast right there. That's 12 girls that I just gave you. And on top of that, what makes this type of season even better is since Natalie wants to fall back so much on Baddies and not have to be so involved with the show, this is a season that doesn't need Natalie to be on the show at all.
At all.
This is the first season that will not need her to be present at all because this will be a whole new format on the show that she doesn't even fit into. Because Natalie doesn't have a trio. Because her, Scotty, and Jayla would have been the trio, but she don't get along with Scotty, and Jayla is more linked over there with Scotty than she is with Natalie right now. Natalie, Rolly, and somebody else wouldn't work because Natalie and Rolly don't have a real friendship, whether they play it for the show or not. Rolly just knows how to get this money, and Rolly is a professional, and she gonna get the money that she need to get. So she gonna play whatever she need to play and be as cordial as she need to be to get through whatever season she needs to get through. If you want to talk about fake friendships, that's why I casted Summer, Dolly, and Big Legs. Because they're a big three that is falling apart. So we come in with an automatic beef already happening, on top of the fact that there's been some scuttlebutt about Fauna being caught talking about K-Rican and Cold Killer, right? So we already have some dissension amongst the girls anyway, on top of the fact that we never know what's going to happen with Anna and Biggie. So we have enough dissension in the group to bring back groups that aren't really groups in the first place. We have enough actual trios on the show to cast a group of 12 to do a season of Baddies of all cliques. And Natalie doesn't need to be there. That's what y'all need to do next season. Or after y'all do chapter 2. I don't know how many chapters of Baddie USA y'all are going to do, but when it's time for y'all to move on from that, this is what y'all need to do. So that's been everything that I've had to say when it comes to this week's episode of Baddies. Let me know what you thought about my thoughts. Specifically, what you guys would do in the suggestion box, and let me know what you guys would do with the new season of Baddies. Do you guys like the click season that I just came up with? Do you like the spinoff that I came up with last week of having one show be specifically about them meeting up in different locations that the girls need to catch fades in, and having girls fly in and catch their ones, and then having a spinoff of that show be specifically about the girls going on tour and doing music? Do you guys have some original ideas that the Baddies could do to kind of switch the show up a little bit? Do you think the show needs Natalie? We're going to head into my old faithful right after this break. Wrapping up our show this week, our old faithful is coming from Married to Medicine. And their show just wrapped up, and I want to talk about so much. This show is all about dynamics and how they're all falling apart on this show. So every section that I'm going to cover in this show is kind of a different play on a different dynamic and how things need to change. When it comes to my water cooler moment, I want to talk about Quad and King. And watching this season back, I see exactly why y'all broke up. Exactly. Y'all got together based on this man's impression of you on television. And y'all got to know each other off camera, which is good because he appreciated you without all of the chaos and all of the hoopla that comes with the Married to Medicine machine, right? You kept him off camera for a whole year. We didn't see him. And so we didn't really see him get to know you in your real life, right? Because I believe that Quad is one of those girls whose life very heavily revolves around the show. And that's just no shade. I think that she's one of those people, who is on Married to Medicine, whether she is on camera or not, right? So I think that he only got so much of the real you with you not bringing him on the show and operating with him in the specific dynamics. I think the most that he really got from you is you telling him all the stuff that's going on while you filming, but him not really being involved was a way to keep him shielded from that, right? But you bring him on camera and the people don't like him because they see that he don't like you. And that is something that is so sad when it comes to y'all's dynamic for me. Because it was so blatantly obvious that this man liked you in the beginning, but the moment he saw who you really was in the midst of the people on this show, and that this show is your real life, and how you act on this show is who you really are, he stopped liking you. And then y'all were trying to get pregnant. You were trying to get pregnant by this man. And not only is he not enjoying you anymore, he's not enjoying the perks that come with you and the fame, right? Because he thought that maybe if he got pregnant, listen, quiet as it's kept, I think King was trying to trap you low key, but in reverse, because you wanted the baby so bad and he didn't. So he was willing to give that to you because he knew that there were perks that were coming with you having a baby by him, right? And I think that he got into this and realized he don't like none of this because he's not getting what he thought that he was going to get out of it. The people don't live for him the way that he thought that they were. And on top of that, he don't even like you anymore the way that he thought that he was going to like you. Because he felt like he could deal with having a baby with the woman that he had off camera, right? But this Quad, TV Quad, real TV Quad, she don't got it. She don't got it. the point of the matter is that man was checked out a long time ago, and you knew that. Quad, you knew that early into this season, and I think that was your silent storyline this entire season, was that King is checked out, and you're trying to figure out how to get this man back so that you can get this baby. And it didn't work, and it's sad. It's sad and it sucks. You're a beautiful girl, but like I told you before, the way that you were carrying yourself on this show when it comes to you being with this man was completely unbecoming of the woman that we thought that you were becoming after your divorce with Greg. You just seem to revert back past the woman that you were with Greg and reverted back to a woman who seemed to need a man all of a sudden. And that was wild to watch. Absolutely wild to watch. But I'm glad that you cut it off, because you knew by the end of the season that y'all was gonna break up. That last confessional in the finale of you putting on this lip gloss and saying, "Hey, it might be King, it might be somebody else. You never know." I think you saw that there was no checking him back into the relationship, so you had begun to check out. And I don't even think y'all were together by the time you filmed that confessional, to be perfectly honest. I think that y'all had already broken up by the time that you filmed that last confessional on Married to Medicine this season, and you just weren't ready to announce it. So when King let the shit hit the fan and you had to say something, now it's like, oh, okay, well, cool. The biggest question that I have for this episode of Married to Medicine is for Damon and Eugene, right? And I want to know why Damon is so against taking any responsibility for the blatant disrespect that Heavenly continues to spew at Toya, not only this season, but season after season after season after season after season. Toya has been such an easy read for Heavenly, and she's been such a constant target for Heavenly on this show. And I think it's so frustrating that Eugene is not even asking for an apology from Damon or Heavenly even, but he's simply asking for Damon to acknowledge the fact that his wife continues to go after his wife in a relentless way, so that they can figure out how to move past that and still be friends. But Damon refuses to even acknowledge that there's anything going on. So he's dug his heels in the sand, and now they've become stuck in this area. They've been in this stalemate when it comes to their friendship. I was right with Eugene when he said that he doesn't know how this version of them can be friends, because there's no way for them to move past that. Especially because Damon, for me, has completely regressed past the point of respect this season, because there was a point of ambivalence that I had with Damon, because the thing was, Damon didn't check Heavenly, but it wasn't like he was complacent to her bullshit either, you know? He would kind of give her the right thing to say, but he would never really like put his foot down with Heavenly, but he never fed into her mess either. Like, he let her do whatever she was going to do, because this is what she's doing on this show, and he knows that, you know, them having drama is quasi a part of it, so he let her do what she going to do. But he never let her go too far, and he never let the mess get too crazy, because he was always a pseudo voice of reason. This season, Damon is with the shits. Damon is with the shits, and he's blaming it on being sensitive about the situation with his son. Speaking of, where the hell did Eugene mentioning Damon's son come from when he brought it to that conversation? Like, Damon came out of nowhere and was like, "Don't mention my son, bro. Don't mention my son, bro." That's why Eugene, like, snapped his neck and was like, "What you mean?" Like, he never said nothing about his son. That we saw. that we saw. This is the moment where I will give Damon grace because this is an edited television program. So maybe there was something that Eugene said that we just did not see. Okay? Grace. But if how we saw it was how it played, you can't ask for a boundary to be respected, Damon, when you continue to disregard that same boundary being crossed by your wife. Families are off limits, right? So spouses are included in the families because before we even had to have a conversation about children being off limits on Married to Medicine, we've had a conversation several times about husbands being off limits on this show. More specifically between Heavenly and Dr. Simone when it comes to her and Cecil, right? But there's been this long history of Heavenly and Toya even, and how she talks about Eugene, which is part of the reason why he needed a timeout at that damn trip. It's just like, y'all want to set boundaries when it comes to you and yours, but never want to really respect it when it comes to nobody else's. And that's becoming a real hard problem for me to deal with on this show because it's becoming more and more blatant about things that are more and more petty and things that are more and more egregious and more offensive. Like, y'all are like, the behavior is getting worse and it's becoming more and more inexcusable. And I'm not here for it. So dipping back into the suggestion box this week, I'm literally going to tell y'all, okay, let me not go so hard. Let me give y'all two options, okay? Let me give y'all two options. Y'all can either A, fire everyone and build a new group around Toya and Eugene, or B, cancel the whole show and give Toya and Eugene a spinoff, Tardy for the Party style, just about their life. Those are your two options. Because this group is no longer enjoyable to watch. Heavenly and her antics have run stale. No one in this group is genuinely connected to the group or this show anymore. Everyone is just showing up except for Toya and Eugene. Here's the thing. There are some couples that are still on this show that are interesting, but none of them can carry this show or any other show except Toya and Eugene. They are the only staple couple on Married to Medicine at this point. So, you either reframe the show around them, a new group of friends that either come from their neighborhood that they just moved into that they don't plan on leaving, according to Toya at this reunion, and some of Eugene's colleagues. You know what? I even have another idea to incorporate within this reboot. This would be the perfect time to bring Mariah back. This would be the perfect time to bring Mariah back. What a plot twist that would be. If y'all fired the people that voted Mariah Huck off the island and bring Mother back to save the show. It's the perfect setup. It's literally the perfect setup because her and Toya gave us the first viral moment on this show in season 1 with the fight by the pool in ball gowns. So what a way to bring this full circle for them to come back together and launch a whole new era, right? The perfect way to do it is Mariah showing up to Toya's new house to see the new house. She was in the neighborhood and they talk about the good old days and they flash back to the fight and work their way all the way up through what happened and her leaving the show and their friendship breaking up and whatever they got going on now, how they came back cool, if they've remained cool this whole time. I can't remember if Mariah and Toya have remained cool this entire time since she's been off the show. I don't know. Maybe that's her way back, is that they've remained friends the entire time. It's not unfathomable. Mariah is still connected to the show through Tidal, if nothing else. Plus, this season that y'all put out justified me saying that y'all need to fire everybody else and reshape this cast around Toya and Eugene. Y'all literally centered Toya and Eugene this entire season. This was their season. From Toya taking over the Met Gala, to the fight between Toya and Eugene at the pool party at their house, to them taking over the cast trip, and then being the center of the drama on the cast trip. Toya and Eugene carried this entire season, hands down. So y'all have a perfect reason, y'all have a perfect foundation to build this reboot off of, because this season that y'all are coming off of set them up to be the anchors of a complete cast change next season. But if you don't do that, give them a tardy for the party style spinoff and cancel this show altogether. Because I don't think that the audience really cares enough about this cast. Or at least I'm going to speak for myself. I don't. There are people that are interesting, but if they leave, I'm going to be too worried about where Toya and Eugene are to care about anything y'all got going on. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to care enough about bringing the group together if Toya and Eugene leave. Contessa's going to try to step up and do it, but girl, no, baby. Well, with that being said, that has been our episode of the Fourth Wall podcast. Let me know what you thought about my commentary on not only Married to Medicine this week, but also Baddies and The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What do you think about my suggestions for each show this week? Do you guys agree? And what would you do differently? Make sure you guys jump in the comments, make your voices heard, because your engagement means so much to me. I'm trying to curate a conversation and a community with you all, so I want you to find my comment section as a place to kick it. You know what I mean? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you guys don't miss this show or any of the others that are coming out to the channel. I'm your host, Oakland Jonas Galloway. I appreciate you all for being here again, and until next time, peace.